Well, hi everybody, old Gary out here at the Fishing Shack. Welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report and Show. Boy, we've got a good show for you. Great reports. Hasn't the weather been beautiful the last few days? I think Wednesday in the Ozarks, it was like in the 90s. Give me a break. Boy, that's going to warm that water temperature up. And it's just been gorgeous. A little front coming in maybe this weekend, a little cooler next week, but let's take what we have. Great show for you this week. We have good reports still of crappie being caught out at Truman. Gosh, big old crappie. And Stockton hasn't been too bad. Boy, good smallmouth fishing. We were out at Bull Shoal smallmouth fishing on Wednesday. And then Thursday, I guess yesterday, we were out at Table Rock. Good smallmouth bass fishing here in the Ozarks. Hey, we want to thank all the viewers last week. My golly molly, we had near 19,000 of you folks, you chummers, viewing in. God bless you. Thank you very much. Well over 18,000. My golly. Another thing I want to talk about before we get into reports, Miss Carla, we are going to be giving away, if I can center this, remember this beautiful photo that we have always in the backdrop of the Fishing Chums, the Fishing Shack? We're going to be giving one of these away. It's going to be actually drawn out the first week of May, and then we'll be announcing the winner on the drawing on the first Friday in May. Be sure to go to our Fishing Chums group and register. We'd love to have you win this thing, okay? Really, really would love to have you do this. A lot of photos, folks. My gosh, all you chummers sending photos in. My golly, we've had a lot of photos, and some I wasn't able to get to, but we're going to run through a bunch of them here on today's program and during the reports. And then we have the chummers segment of photos. And we couldn't get to all you chummers, but we have a lot of photos to show you. At the end of the program, Kathy and I are going to run through our photo roll, our Fishing Chums photo roll, that I know you're going to enjoy. Some kid stuff you'll really like. All right, let's go. Let's go here. You know, we have some good reports from out at Beaver Lake. That water temperature this morning was 62 degrees. Not bad, boy. It's getting up there. Those crappie are going to be going to the banks, guys. Woo. Angie Parsons, look at this look at this display of photos. Wow, did she get into the crappie at Beaver the other day? Woo-wee. Angie, good going, girl. Beaver Lake crappie fishing. And you know, Hooked on Fishing Guide Service, they catch a lot of stripers. My gosh, these guys really go out and get the people into stripers. And they were out crappie fishing the other day, picked up some nice crappie as well. That's out at Beaver, Hooked on Fishing Guide Service. Lance, man, this guy catches a fish. My golly, this guy catches a lot of big crappie in northwest Arkansas. Look at this photo. Good going, man. You look a little different. Did you shave or something? Kind of clean. Oh, you look great, yeah. And Don Plumley was out the other day, and he picked up this beautiful striper. Good going, Don. So the crappie are moving out at Beaver. Moving some up a little bit shallow, so they're still catching some fish deep, 15, 20 feet of water. And they're catching some fish at times down below the dam. And the main lake fishing, the boys, when they're going out with their groups, are going on the flats, I believe, and off the points and flats and finding big schools of stripers and catching some fish there as well. Bass fishing's been pretty good at Beaver as well. Let's go out to Table Rock. The water temperature was 61 degrees. Now, I know I was up the James River on point 15 the other day. It was up to 64 degrees. And with Wednesday's temperature up in the 90s, this water temperature is really, really starting to get up there. That's good. Bart Alexander was out the other day. Look at this beautiful crappie. My gosh, that's a nice crappie, Bart. My word, that's nice. And Jennifer Moore was up in the Shell Knob area. And look at these nice crappie that Jennifer caught. Good going, young lady. Good going. My old buddy Rob Bear was out. He was out recently and caught this nice crappie. Rob's a great guy, a friend of old Catfish Rick Ellis. And they do a lot of fishing together. And he was up in the James River. And I think also doing some white bass fishing as well just the other day and caught a bunch of white bass. Some of these whites are still up in the river areas. And let's see, let's go over to Rodney Johnson. Look at this beautiful bass that Rodney caught out at Table Rock. Good going, young man. Good going. Beautiful fish. So as I mentioned on last week's program, if you're going to Table Rock this upcoming weekend, a lot of smallmouth are being caught right now on swim baits. We've had reports of various baits on jigs, and the smallmouth fishing and the spotted bass and largemouth fishing has been very good. Going to be a little different this weekend. First of the week it's going to cool off. But I know if you're going out to Table Rock this weekend, as I mentioned last week, take the whole tackle box. My golly, they're catching fish swimming jigs, they're catching fish on swim baits, picking up fish on Ned rigs. They're even catching fish on drop shots right now. And on some of the windy points, some fish are being caught on rattle traps too, but wiggleworts and the crankbaits, boy, it looks good. Right around the docks, they've been pitching some swim baits and jigs catching fish, and even still, a few fish are being caught on jerk baits as well at Table Rock. Crappie fishing's been pretty good. It's been tough. A lot of people are having a little tough time, but people up in the point 14 and point 15 area of the James River are catching crappie. Just depends on the day, but you get some minnows or jigging minnows up there, and I know if you hit it right, you're going to catch some nice crappie. And they're catching crappie off some of the docks, especially the docks that you old boys that put some trees and brush down, made some crappie condos. They're catching crappie off some of the docks, and they're picking up some fish on the bluffs around some of the standing timber and about halfway back into the creek areas as well. So, and the white bass are still catching some white bass up in the river areas, and so Table Rock looks good. But I'm telling you, swim baits and swimming jigs and chatter baits are working real good for smallmouth right now at Table Rock. Okay, let's go out to Taneycoma. The water temperature was 47 degrees out there this morning. Releasing a lot of water down through the dams and through the power units. A lot of shad still coming through. And so white baits, anything white will work, it seems like. There's a big drift, and it's kind of tough drifting through all that. But they are picking up some nice limits of trout on a variety of baits. They're picking them up on white power eggs, picking them up on white jigs, and also some nice browns have been caught on jerk baits and just crankbaits. So Taneycoma may be good for the upcoming weekend. All right, let's go out to Bull Shoals. That water temperature was around 60 degrees. And Peyton Watterson was out the other day. Look at this beautiful white bass that he caught. Ooh, beautiful Peyton. And also he was out night before last and went up in the creek areas. And he and his buddies caught some. Look at this mess of white bass that they caught up the creek arms of Bull Shoals. Really a nice quality white, some big white bass as well. And the smallmouth bass fishing, Carla and I was out a couple days ago at Bull Shoals up in the K-Dock area. And that water temperature is around 60 degrees, And they are picking up some nice smallmouth, some nice smallmouth. But I do want to say that there's a lot of debris on the water. Now the water clarity, the lake is up over 20 feet of water. But the water clarity is really decent, really good. It's not muddy at all, but there's a lot of debris. Kind of watch it when you're maneuvering the boat down through there. A lot of debris. So some stuff's heavy, most stuff's light. So we were fishing in the K-Dock area and picked up this nice smallmouth a couple days ago. There's some good smallmouth. In fact, Dale Colvin, my gosh, I can't outdo him. Look at this nice fish he caught yesterday. I believe it was yesterday or day before. And boy, they have been catching some good fish at Bull Shoals. A nice smallmouth and largemouth and some spots. They're catching them on a variety of bait. I've had good reports of some topwater fishing taking place out at Bull Shoals. So if you go out there this weekend, be sure to maybe take some spooks along. They've been picking up some fish on some swim baits, also some crankbaits. And they've been picking up some fish also on jigs and chatter baits out there as well, and some jerk bait. So get out at Bull Shoals this weekend. Crappie fishing's been a little touch and go. Not a whole lot to report on crappie. I know some boys have been getting in some brush piles, deep water brush piles, picking up a few, and around some of the docks out there. But it's been a little tough. They're going to be moving up before too long. and that's out at Bull Shoals. Looks good for the upcoming weekend. Water clarity is very good. Let's go out to Stockton Reservoir. Stockton Lake is 57 degrees on the surface out there, a little bit cooler. But Dale Booth was out the other day. Look at this, a couple of beautiful bass. Good going, Dale. The bass fishing's been good out at Stockton. There's no doubt about that. And old buddy Jeff Deckert, he's guiding out there now. If you're looking for a good guy, get a hold of Jeff. He likes to do a lot of pushing and pulling with his rigs, and they are catching fish out there in shallower water. The last I heard was around 10, 12 feet of water on the flats, and then I'm still getting reports of crappie being caught in deep water, maybe 50, 60, 70 feet of water down around anywhere from 20, 25, 30, 35 feet of water on jig and minnows. That's out at Stockton. Mark Campbell was out the other day too. Look at this beautiful bass. Hey, there's some nice bass that Mark caught. And the bass fishing's been good out at Stockton on a variety of baits. They've been picking up some fish on some A-rigs, some crankbaits, and they've been picking up some fish on spinner baits out there and jigs. And so look at Stockton. Some nice bass have been caught out there. Really nice bass. Out at Pomme de Terre this morning, the water temperature was 61 degrees. And Don Jump was out. Look at this the other day. I think it was last weekend. He caught a nice walleye and some crappie out at Pomme de Terre, 61 degrees. The crappie fishing, I understand, slowed down a little bit right now. I think they're getting ready to move up shallow. The deep water bite is just a little bit off, but they have been picking up some fish around some of the docks out at Pomme de Terre. Bass fishing's picking up a little bit. We've had reports on spinner baits, crankbaits, and they've been picking up some fish on jigs and swim baits out at Pomme de Terre. Out at Truman, 57 degrees out there this morning, and Wayne Irving was out the other day, and he picked up this nice hybrid, I believe, why he was crappie fishing. Good going, Wayne. That will stretch the old bait. My old buddy Jordan Lear, he's been doing some guiding out there on catfishing, and Jordan picked up, I tell you what, Jordan and he really picked up some nice, look at these big cats he caught. Wow, my golly, big cats and the flats on cut bait. So you may want to check that out. Not too deep, 6, 8, 10, 12 feet of water. So good going, Jordan Lear. Marcus Williams was out the other day, and look, I tell you, Marcus really got into his little line stretched. He was crappie fishing and picked up this nice hybrid. I think it was around 9 pounds on a crappie rig, light line. Marcus, that had to really stretch your line. Good going, buddy. And they've been picking up several hybrids out on Truman this week. Several people wild crappie fishing. All right, the catfishing, as I mentioned, the crappie fishing, getting back to crappie, they're more back into the creek areas in about 10 feet of waters where they're catching these fish. And the catfish are on the flats, as I mentioned, and picking up these fish anywhere from 6, 8, 10, 12 feet of water. Lake of the Ozarks, boy, Doug Spinnenweber was out the other day, and he was crappie fishing. Look at this nice walleye he caught, and I think he picked some crappie up too. Good going, Doug. That's a heck of a nice fish. Love to catch those walleye. Wow. And let's see, let's go to Norfolk, and this is where we're coming to our photo of the week. Nathan Dickey was out the other day, and look at the smile on this young man. Beautiful smile. And he caught his 2-pound crappie. Boy, well, look at that beautiful crappie. Look at that smile. That's out at Norfolk Lake. Now, the crappie I've heard is in 2 different patterns. They're still picking up some crappie in deep water, 15, 25 feet of water on jig and minnows. Water's up high. They're running a lot of water through the lake, and they're still picking up fish, some fish, back into the creek areas and the brush piles. And they're still starting to pick up some fish on the flats or up near the bank, too, on jig and minnows. So, Norfolk, boy, good going, Nathan. Photo of the week. Great catch, great catch. And let's see, we're going to do something different before we get into our photo rolls. We've had so many photos this week. Gosh darn, we've had so many photos with our regular groups and our fishing groups, our Fishing Chums fishing group page. But we're going to run through just 3 or 4 or 5 right quick here. Brent Jones was out the other day and he caught this beautiful Kentucky, this very nice spotted bass on a fly rod. You don't think that wasn't fun? Brent, good going on the fly rod. Ooh, boy, you had fun there. And Kyle Oberweather was crappie fishing in the gravelous arm of Lake of the Ozarks just a couple of nights ago. And he was going down the bank, actually catching his crappie in between the docks, throwing up shallow and slow rolling back to the boat. And they caught a really good mess of crappie out at Lake of the Ozarks. Kyle, good going. 6 to 10 feet of water, he said. So you can catch some crappie out at Lake of the Ozarks this weekend. And Jason Crossett was out the other day. Look at this nice bass that he caught. Beautiful. And Richard Lee Rusher, you know, our guide buddy that fishes down below the dam at Beaver Lake, he and his friend was out the other day and picked up some nice trout. And they've been catching some walleye on occasion out there, trolling flicker shad as well once in a while. Kevin Bays was out the other day and he caught some nice crappie at Stockton. Good going, Kevin. Nice fish. And Edward Mitchell was out the other day and caught this beautiful bluegill. Good going, Edward. Chummers, all you guys are chummers. I want to thank you very much for being with us today on Fishing Chums Fishing Report and Show. And for you folks that's watching over on YouTube, be sure to like and share and put it up there, Kathy, and subscribe. Thank you very much for subscribing and pass the word. Tell your friends about our show. And for all the thousands of viewers we have over on Facebook, my golly, we have thousands, over 18,000 this week. We want to thank you very much and continue watching. Tell your friends about us and be sure to like and share on Facebook. And we really appreciate you watching. And we do, if you have any photos you'd like to send us, join our Facebook group, our Fishing Chums group. You can get a hold of us there and send photos. Or if you'd like to use our email us at fishingchums@gmail.com. Well, God bless you for being with us today. We had a lot to run through. We have, boy, I tell you what, we have some hopefully good fishing coming up this weekend. It's going to be a little cooler, I think, but that's going to be okay. And thanks again for watching. And let's see, we've got a lot of photos coming your way, more photos. God bless you. So roll those photos, Kathy.